Well, there. Hello, people. So, the subject for today, boys and girls, is control. Control is one of my favorite subjects. It's one of my favorite topics. As a recovering control freak, I know exactly what it's like to want to control everything. I know exactly what it's like to want to have an opinion about everything. I know exactly what it's like to want to control, manage, fix other people, other things, the world. I might even try my hand at trying to control a pandemic. Possibly. Anyway, control, control, control. So, what happens is, if you're a smart person, you built this life where you're the maker of your own dreams and you're the driver of your success and you can be anybody and anything. And I'm all for that attitude. I think it's awesome, right? But behind it is often like deep insecurity. Like you're driven for reasons that have to do with trying to prove yourself. And the funny thing about like control or trying to control like your financial success and your family life in a way that makes you feel better about things is actually really unhealthy and doesn't make you successful and comes from an empty place, right? Because it's one thing to be driven, it's one thing to be assertive, it's one thing to want to really like be successful and live a good life and have nice things. I'm all for that. But the question I'm asking you is what is the motive or driver behind what you're doing? Because if it's just gaining money or it's thinking that with that life you'll feel better about yourself, well then, buddy, you're on the wrong path because there's nothing that's going to make you feel okay with yourself except for yourself. Right? And the thing about control, it's like insidious. So in the caption, I allude to having cancer. I know people right now who are going through chemo and they can't control their own body functions. It's really both sad and scary, but also this person's quite inspirational because he's just showing up and trying to find a solution and looking for new methods and always looking for ways to be more deeply spiritual and happy. And then when it's time and he feels it, he just breaks the fuck down and cries like a baby. So your control issues are not that extreme, or the suffering apparent in your control issues is not that extreme or deadly. Or is it? Right? Because cancer, if it were to be terminal and take you, is physical and it has a specific ending, right? Like, in other words, it's going to end in you getting better, it's going to end in you dying. Now, different from if you can, blah, blah, blah. If you, I can't control my mouth clearly, if you continue to exhibit and drive yourself with this type of control where you're controlling your kids, controlling your life, controlling your team, controlling your job, controlling your money. It's like the suffering incumbent in that is just going to become more acute and it's going to become constant as people get sick of you trying to control and manipulate and manage them. As like your job or your team is like, maybe I have something to say too. As your family, your partner doesn't necessarily feel intimate or loving or happy with you because they feel like you treat them like a child, right? That's what control issues do. They like chip away at the foundations of healthy relationships. They bring in and bring on emotional and spiritual deaths. Emotional deaths with the end of a relationship, spiritual death, where you realize no matter how much you've achieved and got and acquired, you still have this big gaping hole somewhere between your throat and your belly button, depending on your energy, your issues, and your chakras. And that's another story for another day. But it's an emptiness, this control, what's behind the control. If in fact you're driving and controlling and managing in an unhealthy way, behind it is an emptiness that will never be cured other than filling you up, right? Like you're a well. And I believe in the divinity of being. I believe in the ultimate form of highest consciousness where of everything that ever was and is, and you and me being all the same thing, made up of all the same particles of love and all kinds of things that I'll never understand. And so with my being, there is a place inside me that is big and expansive and loving. But the problem is I got this head, and in this head are prejudices and opinions and bias that keep me stuck and keep me locked into like what I think is going on. So here's the antidote. There's a willingness in your life to be open-minded. There's a willingness to see things differently, than the way you've been seeing them, and then using the way you see things to control your emotions, to control things around you, to think that you have all the answers so you can feel safe. And you're never going to feel that, right? Without actually feeling safe by filling up this circle, this well, this divinity, this highest self space within you, right? And that takes some work. And it's the kind of work you can't do by yourself because it's relational work. So you can't read a book to do it. You have to be involved with a person to do it because you have to relearn love, relearn acceptance, relearn communication, relearn tolerance, relearn how to relate, right? So if you're interested in talking about your control because you understand that it's sick and deadly and damaging, please message me or email me at nicole@nicoledevlin.com. I'd love to talk more about it. I'd love to be able to help you have a better, fuller, more contented, and really, truly successful life. With or without the material stuff, filling that hole and knowing that you're all right, man, and you're all right no matter what's happening, pandemic or no pandemic, wife or no wife, life or no, it doesn't matter, because when you're full, you're complete, and life is successful always. Always, in every moment of every day, even when the shit hits the fan. So thanks for joining me for today. And I hope that you have a really good day. Ciao.